Yo, this is usually how I explain dyscalculia to other people. Do you see 5 anywhere? People say, yeah, I have 5 fingers. Yes, you have 5 fingers. But do you see the symbol of 5 anywhere on your hand? The thing is, individuals with dyscalculia find it difficult to connect the symbol with the amount. Now imagine all the times we are referring to time, amounts, symbols throughout the day, and expect everyone to know what we're talking about. But individuals with dyscalculia may have a difficult time with this because they don't see the connections between symbol and amount. Though everyone experience is different. It's like a spectrum. So keep that in mind. Thank you for watching. I'll talk a little bit more about how I was thinking when I was little, because it was hard to understand that this was 10. Of course it's 10, but again, the symbol and the amount is different. I could keep the symbol in my head, but I had a difficult time to comprehend that this meant 10. Meaning when I went like this to 11, I can only see 1. And because I could see the number 11 in my head, I couldn't connect it to +1. So I ended up using a lot of pencils to keep the amount correct, or just make a line. It's very typical for one with dyscalculia. Over time, this became very embarrassing, and I was actually told off for counting on my fingers because you were supposed to count in your head. Hi, let's talk about time. As an individual with dyscalculia and dyslexia, this has been a difficult thing to learn. I prefer the analog clock because it's more visual than the digital clock, though many individuals with learning differences prefer the digital clock. The thing I like about this is that it shows you past, present and future. Like I talked about earlier, I find it difficult to comprehend the symbols and what they meant. So the way I went with it was I gave each number a meaning in time for me. But for example, at 2, school usually ended back in the day. 12, usually lunch. 6, that was when the children cartoon happened every day at 1800 or 6. This is how I learned digital clock. When I moved to England, I realized that English people say time differently than what Norwegians do. I always arrived 1 hour or more earlier than I needed to. Why? So when the English say for 4:30, in Norwegian that is actually 5:30. It's just the way we say it, even though the digital time is the same. The way I learned this was to look at a digital clock, and then I looked at analog clock, and I looked back and forth to get a visual image of how the digital clock would look on the analog clock. So when I look at the digital clock, I have the image of the analog clock. And over time, that worked for me. Maybe it will work for you. You guessed it, it's time. I used to live 5 minutes away from school, primary school. Yet I stressed every day because I didn't comprehend how long 5 minutes was. I often left half an hour before I needed to, just to make sure that I got there in time, because the thought of getting late was like death to me. This was also a thing when I used to work in a hobby store. I used to start working at 4 in the evening, yet I woke up 6 in the morning, stressing the whole day in case I got late, because I didn't understand the time in between, meaning when I started work, I was already tired. It's a very typical sign for an individual with dyscalculia and some other learning differences, not comprehending how long things take. Do you have it like this? Let me know. It's time again, but this time alarms. Now I have alarms for pretty much every 10 to 15 minutes throughout the day. Like I said before, individuals with dyscalculia may find time to be complicated. Things about alarms is that it helps you to not stress out as much, because I already organized probably like 4 alarms before I actually need to do the things that I need to do. Are you a big fan of using alarms for even the smallest tasks, just to organize and relax so you don't need to stress about time? This video is about time to start. I suggest, if you find time to be difficult, and especially how long does things take for you, use a stopwatch. If you have seen my previous video, you know that individuals with dyscalculia may find this very difficult. So for example, when I was younger, I put the stopwatch on, went into the shower, and when I went out again, I looked at how long did it take me. And I continued doing this with every task. And over the times, this has actually given me a much better feeling of how long things takes. It helps you communicate to other people. This will take me X amount of time. You may not understand yourself, but the other individual will be content because you have given them a time frame. Dyscalculia and Christmas calendars. As you know, if you watched my previous videos about dyscalculia, that individuals with dyscalculia find numbers and time to be difficult to comprehend. And what is a Christmas calendar? Well, it's all about looking forward to Christmas. This was a huge stress factor for me as a child, because the focus was always in the future. It's either how awesome will the present be tomorrow, or how awesome will Christmas Day be. But don't misunderstand, I'm super grateful for the Christmas calendars my parents made every year. But the stress and focus on this one day that was supposed to be the most amazing day in the whole year broke me. And I spent so many Christmases feeling super tired or being sick. Luckily, this is not the case for me anymore, but it's important to acknowledge that many individuals with dyscalculia and all the learning differences may find this time very stressful because of the countdown.